พี่จอมแบบนี้เรียกว่าอาการอันเดอร์ครับแผลเข้าไปแล้วก็ฟาดเข้าเลยในบางคันเนี่ยโอ้ชิ้นส่วนหนึ่งขออนุญาตอันนี้ด่วนจีเลยนะครับรถยนต์โตโยต้ายาริสนะครับทะเบียนขอไข่ททหาร1061ภูเก็ตนะครับขอไข่ททหาร1061ภูเก็ตนะครับรถขวางช่องเซอร์วิสไม่สามารถเข้าได้ตอนนี้ถ้าคุณไม่ไปที่รถโดนยกนะครับขอบคุณครับช่วงแรกๆที่ลงไปวิ่งในรันแรกๆนี่เหวอนะครับครับใช่มันเป็นโค้งไฮสปีดมันเอาจริงคือมันผิดพลาดนิดเดียวนะครับก็สามารถที่จะทำให้เกิดอาการหมุนทั้งโอเวอร์หรือว่าอันเดอร์ได้ไม่ว่าจะใช้เบรกใช้พวงมาลัยใช้คันเร่งผิดนิดเดียวครับนี่ผมชอบคอมเมนต์หนึ่งบอกว่าที่จอดเป็นร้อยจอดตรงเซอร์วิสครับพวกเราคือสนุกสนานเฮฮานะครับจริงๆมันเป็นโลกของการสื่อสารแบบ two way communication การสื่อสารตรงนี้นะครับก็ยังอยู่ในบรรยากาศของบางแสนกลางปีนะครับคุณผู้ชมน้องเติ้ลไม่ได้มาครับคุณผู้ชมเพราะว่าน้องเติ้ลพัฒนพลธนภูวนาถตอนนี้แข่งอยู่ในผมเล่าว่า3นะครับหรือว่า F3 ชิงแชมป์โลกอยู่ตอนนี้ก็อยู่ที่ซิลเวอร์สโตนนะครับที่ประเทศอังกฤษเป็นซัพพอร์ตเรสของฟอร์มูล่าวันรายการ British Grand Prixตอนแรกเนี่ยใช่ตอนแรกเรสท็อกอยู่ประมาณ10 นาทีกว่าเดินคันเร่งไปเอาลืมล็อกไหลลงครับ อันนี้แซวนะไม่มีหรอกแบบนี้นะครับสวัสดีครับครับสวยทะลุเฟ้นเลย ถึงการสะดุดนะครับแช่นานนะแช่นาน ค จอดรอนะครับไปจอดรอที่ปากทางพิษเมื่อได้สัญญาณธงเขียวนั้นก็จะเริ่มแล้วครับให้สัญญาณมาแล้วจากเรสคอนโทรนะครับปากทางพิษจะเปิดในเวลานี้ครับเวลานี้เลยมาเชียร์บัตเตอร์ มันเป็นเหตุการณ์ที่ใช่ครับเพราะว่านักขับเองพยายามจะพุชอย่างเต็มที่ในขณะที่เขารู้สึกว่ากริปมันทำได้อย่างเต็มที่นะครับอ่ะเดี๋ยวไปดูไฮไลท์ในการควอลิฟายหน่อยครับ
4JUL25.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, for this afternoon's racing action from Thailand Super Series. We are just about to head out on track. The gridding process and procedure for your Thailand Super Pickup D2 has been much accelerated. And by the way, ladies and gents, the race they cancelled yesterday afternoon due to repair to the barriers was run and done this morning. We're going to try and grab results as we run through this one this evening. Scott Rankin and Dan Yeaman here to bring you all the action for this weekend's racing action. And for those of you who are just hanging around, and sorry, my apologies, this isn't the Super Pickup, this is the Toyota Hilux Revo. This is the one-make race. Immediately after these guys will be the Super Pickup categories. My sincerest apologies for that one. But yes, this is Toyota Gazoo Racing Team Thailand one-make racing. This is effectively, we get more cars out on track, and this is part of your fan engagement right across the weekend. Thai celebrities going racing here, Dan. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's a bit of a special one, a novel in some respects with this, because, yeah, this is the only weekend of the year we see these one-make races sponsored by Toyota Gazoo Racing Thailand come out in force. So, adds to the whole scene of the event. Short 8-lap races here. We'll see them today and later on in the second race, I believe, the weekend as well. So, it's not exclusively a bit of racing here today, but as you said, with a couple of things mixing up the schedule, well, we are now slightly behind, but looks like they've actually done quite a good job here to get this only 5 minutes behind schedule after some delay prior to F4 Southeast Asia qualifying kicking off, which we were able to show the end of the footage there for that one. But yeah, 8 laps, rolling start is scheduled for these trucks. And then we're into the Thailand Super Pickup Division 2 trucks once again for their second and final race of the weekend, all coming here on the Friday. And yes, looking for those race results. We will endeavour to hopefully have that very shortly based on what happened this morning. So here's a little bit more information about these cars, Scott. What do we make of this?
Yeah, so 2.4 litre 6-speed manual diesel-powered Toyota Hilux Revos is what we're going to be seeing in action here for this one. All will be very similar spec. Just about the only thing you'll see different between the cars will be the colours out on there. So it's going to be Narachit from Pitafon on the front row, Kitasak and Chayamon on row number 2. You will see a lot of cars in this one, not actually brought to you by any sponsorship on the side of the car as well, as they're out there and enjoying the weekend's racing action. Kiranan from Tirapat, Pong Saturn, and Norut are going to make up your 4th row of the grid for this one. 12 cars in operation. Final page we'll get here. Saran from Foodit, Tibetan, and Perk, the final row of the field. 12 of the Toyota Hilux Revos to go circulating. These guys will get 8 laps worth of racing action, and you can see them already getting out there and participating in some tire warming as they form up on the formation lap here.
They're looking to get their eye in here, I think, would be the main thing. These drivers in these Hilux Revos haven't been on track since about 11 a.m. local time. So it's been about over 4.5 hours, nearly 5 hours since these drivers last saw the track. So curious to know how conditions might have changed. You said you've had some contact with someone helping out with one of the teams here this weekend, and the state being is that track grip is very low at the moment. And lower than perhaps they would be hoping for by the second day of qualifying and practice, let alone I think there's been even possibly even a day before that, the Wednesday we may have even had some practice sessions as well.
Yeah, and we've also had some rain across the weekend as well. So there was Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday activity, I think, was there's been a lot of prep work of going into the track. If you haven't seen that, jump across to the Thailand Super Series Facebook page, have a look at some of the posts over the last month or so. Prep work for this event starts well in advance before we actually get to the race week itself. So a lot of these walls and barriers would have had to started being erected a couple of weeks ago. Pace car is going to peel off here, and we'll get our 12 cars, including the medical car at the rear end of the field, ready to roll on down towards turn 1. And yes, my contacts over in Thailand are telling me track is low grip at the moment. We've seen a lot of rear ends of cars sliding around, particularly down in turn 1 and 2. And we've already seen, we saw 2 reasonable accidents yesterday, one of them nasty, and there was another bigger one than that throughout the week here as drivers having issues pulling up for turn 1. Here we go. 8 laps in the Toyota Hilux Revos. We'll get a green flag here in just a few moments. They'll start to make their way down towards the lighting gantry. Then it's the run down to turn 1 for the 3.4 kilometers of Bangsaen. Here we go. And already jumping out of line, looking for a get-go. Couple cars maybe at the rear end of the field, missing getting through the gears. But they're going to be 3 wide on the run down to turn number 1. Your pole sitter's number 4 machine alongside Pitafon's the 85. They'll feed down through turn 1 on the brakes, on the anchors, trying to get the cars pulled up. Couple cars out wide through the dust as they make their way through turn 1, turn 2. And now the aerial shot to cover the run up through Monkey Hill. They're all just about single file as they get up and across here. So it's going to be narrow chit from Pitafon. And after that, we're going to watch and wait for the numbers to pop on through.
Yeah, towards the back of the pack, Scott, they stacked up on the exit of turn 2. Almost 3 wide, I think, but as we get into this mandatory single file, full-time yellow flag segment of the circuit, that will sort things out, and it looks like all 12 of our trucks are together here, as the medical car is behind them all, still moving at a decent clip. So, opening sector, we can check that one off nicely there as we head on down towards turn number 8, your second big braking zone of the circuit. Possible move there for second place. No, looks like Kitasak in that bright green Hilux is going to have to stay in line behind Pitafon. Is listed to the Yokohamas scream for mercy here as they come up to temperature and pressure.
Yeah, at least it'll only be 8 laps that they'll be under threat for. And now they'll feed as they come through the Monument chicane down towards the fast and flowing 15, 16, and 17. There it is, the apex for 15, covered to the inside. There's the 13 of Chalonpon, who's made some ground on lap 1, started off with 4th position, has managed to get through into 3rd as our front 4 start to break away. And there's the chicane. Oh! Whoa, that's going to be a huge accident. Huge incident. And I believe that's the 13 that's fed into the back there. So Chalonpon, who did make that ground on lap 1, that's going to be a huge accident. Avoided. Great driving. That's phenomenal driving from the 45 machine of Tirapat. That is great avoiding action. And it looks like all of the trucks are going to go away from the scene of the accident as well. Medical car's already on the scene. Yeah, the steering's damaged on that. The 13 machine is going to feed back into pit lane. And we were missing 2 from the opening lap. The 20 and 55 machine have not made the opening lap as well. So missing those 2. Race leader has disappeared, Dan. That was P2 and P3 because they were in behind that accident. Yeah, I'm not surprised the safety car's been deployed here.
Yeah, we're going to need that, especially with the side of believe there. Yeah, this long shot here out of turn 17, around front bumper comes off here, and the 13, unfortunately, of it, Chilempon is on the wrong side of the road to be able to do anything about it. Then the chaotic moment here of almost running into them in the 45 was Tirapat, but thankfully avoids that fate. It's just a case of the 85 of Pitafon there, front end on the track, unlike the case of the 13 Chilempon here, who's just had it all caved in. Will mean a safety
I do wonder. Looking at the way that he's getting around the track now, I wonder whether or not the stewards might note the speed that he's still continuing on at. Now, of course, he'll know exactly where the accident is, which is the benefit. But they won't be happy with the speed that he was continuing on there. That is something they generally hand down calls to race control for. And we have seen messages previously pop up for team managers to return to race control tower. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see a message like that and we've managed to get a safety car out around the monument section to grab the field nice and quickly.
Yeah, they would have. Yeah, actually, yeah. As you see, this mid-lap safety car deployment to pick up where the leaders were at, because yeah, they would have been well past the timing line by the moment of Nick deciding to call this safety car. So a little bit of flexibility and ingenuity, some might say, to the decision, but it works out very nicely. Race control's favour. It just means that, yeah, we are going to be stuck here for a moment, waiting to see what the recovery is going to be like in terms of the time and the laps too, because we are about 5 minutes behind schedule here this evening, well, afternoon, I should say. It's already, it's kind of, again, the whole thing, lovely afternoon shots here from Bangsaen, but it's already dark outside my window down south of Melbourne as we're approaching 7 p.m. local, for me at least, but a lovely near 4 p.m. at the track. When I say lovely, I haven't actually checked in on the weather, and apparently that's something we're going to have to worry about in the next couple of days.
Yep.
Our recovery vehicle looks like Scott at the incident scene now. Yep, the truck is there. About to get that Hilux up on the flatbed. So now all the drivers most definitely being directed through with great care and instruction to keep that very, very slow indeed. Just looking at this here, so we had 25 minutes scheduled for this race, only 8 laps, and they can do around 2 minutes 20 or so, it seems. So, although the safety car lap, for example, 3 minutes 47 for your race leader, so we give it all sort of in perspective. Thinking about that there as to what that might mean for time certainty, perhaps. You would think with a short race of this, though, we should get all of our laps, it's just whether we can get back to a restart soon enough.
So I was just doing some quick research as well. That QR code that we actually just had pop up on our screen is actually some marketing research being done. Yeah, that one right there. That's convenient timing. It's being research conducted by Thailand. The response is being collected there. If they reach out, you win yourself a little prize pack sent out to you. Although I have a feeling that might be just for Thai locals. So if you're interested in getting involved in that, you can have the Google form Google translated as well, and be a part of that one. Don't quote me on any of those details though. All I do know is that it's marketing research being done by 4JUL25. Yeah, if you'd like to participate in that one, just let me see that QR code pop up. In the meantime, I guarantee we'll probably be back green flag racing at the end of this lap. Because that truck was on scene and they were having that truck removed. In fact, that message has just popped across our timing screen, so how's that for a little bit of prediction? And shout out to the marshals that are out there. They do a great job, and it's a busy job here at the Bangsaen Grand Prix. Take great pride in getting their circuit back operational quickly and safely. And there it is, the 85 machine on the back of the truck, and will be brought into pit lane. Great job of the marshals getting that one arrested nice and quickly.
Indeed, what we like to see here, that despite the challenges of this circuit, recovery effort, prompt and sorted out nice and quickly. So yes, indeed, we will be going back green in this episode. Will be 5 laps to go, and we're looking at around, well, just under 16 minutes will be left in this race once we get back racing as well. So by the numbers, we should get all the laps in here today, folks, for this Toyota Hilux Revo 1 make race. There we go. How about that in the chat? Unfortunately, we are going to lose Scott Rankin this evening at the end of this race here, folks. But his replacement, who we'll be welcoming to commentary duties for Thailand Super Series, has just made a cheeky point about the truck in use to recover the stricken Hilux. Anyways, yes, I'll let David Haynes explain himself when he gets in the booth in about 10 minutes or 15 minutes time, whatever it ends up being exactly, as we're about to go back to green into the final hairpin as the safety car boards will go away, and we're back in the hands of your race leader. should be Narrowship. Oh no, bad run out of the final corner as the green flags fly. It's going to be Kieran is going to lead them back to the green here, Scott. Bit of a check-up as the race leader doesn't get it going off turn 19.
Yeah, I'd say that looks like he actually missed a shift. Now, the problem is, generally no overlapping prior to the apex of the last corner, although after the last corner. So overlapping would be fine, but overtaking would have been the difficulty. The problem is, for our new race leader, Kieran, is that if he didn't overtake, somebody else would have overtaken him, and that would have caused more issues. There was a major mix-up there, and they might just go ahead and let that one go. Run up a monkey hill once more, and there is 14 minutes and 30 seconds remaining in this race because we might go time certain. If we can get there, though, there is 5 laps that are available to us. One more safety car will take us time certain, though, that is for sure. So change for the race lead. The number 90 machine of Kieran will now lead from Narrachit. Kitasak crossed the line in 3rd place, but what he's able to do with that one. And the big question will be, how damaged is the front bumper of that green Hilux at the rear end of the field? And 35 machine of Pitterford, sorry, my apologies, it was the 13 machine we were looking for of Chilonpon. By my timing, he's already made up a couple spots. So he has already gotten aggressive. You might see him come through the back of the shot. No, it looks like he's gone missing there. So we might have lost a couple of cars at the 1st and 2nd corner on this lap.
Yeah, by my count, there's only like 7 or 8 trucks there in the leading pack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there was one further out back to make 9.
Well, that's the number we should still have. But the one that we're missing is definitely that damaged number 13.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So, alas, we watched the drivers in the leading pack through this sweeping turn 17. If you just missed it, was the cause of a red flag in F4 Southeast Asia qualifying. One of the drivers got loose and lost it as a look to the inside at turn 18. A second look to the inside at turn 18. Right at the back of this leading pack. Can't get the move done, though, as leaning on the right front tyres. Looks like these Hilux Reapers don't necessarily have the stiffest suspension tune installed. As to the end of the first lap after the restart, you see here, well, the aftermath of what surely was indeed you'd think would be a misshift.
Watch.
Ship.
And we'll look right there. That's the start-finish line, and there's a message that's just popped up on our screens and overtaking before the control line. It's a safety car procedure under investigation. But the big thing was, did you notice that Kitasak pulled out and hesitated? He did not complete the overtake before that line. So I think it's now been reversed, and Narrachit is back to the lead. So whether or not race control look at that and go, well, it's been reversed now, we might just let it go, is going to be an interesting thing to keep an eye on. I don't think they will, because breach his safety car. Generally not considered, or breach of procedures is generally not looked on very nicely at all. And that is indicators being displayed and the lights being flashed at the same time. So Kieran is under the pressure of Kitasak. They tear through downtown Bangsaen.
Yeah, I guess maybe the only saving grace for Kieran might be the fact that, well, you gave the spot back after taking it inappropriately under safety car, after the green flags had been started waving, and we're on timing as Kitasak searching to the inside up the run to turn 15. There you go. Actually, we'll get ahead before turn 15 to take that place away. So job done there. And an update on that first message from race control. It wasn't just the number 90. There was also a second truck further down the order, the 13 of Chilonpon, who is that damaged green truck, also has been noted for overtaking behind the safety car. I have to see here with Kieran, again, was second, jumped up to first through turn 20 on the restart, but now back to third, 2 laps later. Come to 3 laps to go. What that will do to the situation of this race is, see, Chilonpon actually at the last timing sector, 40 seconds behind the car in front of him. So he's off on his own
second times though.
World of misery it seems.
He's about 17 seconds slower in the first second. So there is definitely an issue with that car. So he's gone from being right up in a part of the lead group. In fact, he was looking to take full advantage of the ability to jump his way into second spot potentially. Is now at the rear end of the field. In fact, he's another 18 seconds off the pace in second 2. So the difficulty will be staying on the lead lap, and I think he's just going to be in trouble just trying to finish the race at the moment. 3 laps left to run though from Bangsaen and Toyota Hiluxes. We get to the hairpin and the permanent yellow flag zone. For the fans that are tuning into us for the first time, that white line on the exit, and that was the 19 machine struggling for a little bit of drive and struggling to get through the gears, and the 24 of Saran Dekeng trying to put some pressure down, and he will clear him out the exit here. So you cannot overtake until this white line on the exit.
Well, watch
it looks
this
like he might
here, Scott.
Is he in the wrong gear?
You clipped the reflector on the left rear corner. I'm thinking maybe, but also like the entry was very shallow from Nirut Sucharit, who's driving the number 19 truck there. So not clear if that was just a case of wrong gear and narrow entry meant super slow and bogged down to the very bottom of whatever gear it may have been. But definitely didn't get out of the corner well either, as well as looking like a little odd on the way in too.
Yep, so for the meantime, positions will change hands, and crucially, after the white line and the exit of turn 6. So, benefit now, those two will get to go racing, but where's the speed of both of those cars? And in actual fact, Nurut might be having issues with the shifter in that car because he was 2 seconds off his pace on that most recent lap. In the meantime, Saran Dekeng went high, was actually set his fastest lap of the race. So he's starting to make some time back up. New fastest lap of the race goes to Getasak Seng Salak in P2 at the moment, albeit only by less than a tenth of a second, sitting at 2:16.789. So does make some margin to our race leader. In fact, they're about to come up on the lap car. In the number 13, Chonburi is still dealing with those issues. 24 and 19, still going at it. And we'll wait for the end of the first sector, I think, when they get up and over the hill. There's a 9 machine feed it. Also turn from the 49 to 45 Pura Pack. Next 3 cars to come in here.
Just gone through it now, Scott. Kink there, out of shot is turn 7. And the numbers looking pretty good for Kitasak. Nearly 3/10 gained in the first sector alone. 52.615 for Narrowshit. 52.346 for Kitasak. So we watch out for sector 2. There you go. Chonburi may be able to limp it home from there, but yellow flags come out in the background of shot as the drivers in this leading pack approach turn 8. Can he get that truck going, or is he going to be stuck off the side of the road? There is the Monument chicane. The next sector marker is after turn 14, the left-hander right there. And Narrowshit gains back nearly all the time, Scott, that he lost in sector 1. So it's currently about dead level as on at the back of this pack here as we cut away to the race lead.
Yep, 6 minutes on the clock, 2 laps left to run. So we'll cross the start-finish line and it will be the final lap of the race. They've got 6 minutes to run it. We will not be time certain. It will go all 8 laps here for your Toyota Hilux Revos. And we'll start to try and make some margin down front straight away. Last lap. 1 more to go for the number 4 of Narrowshit, as he leads the way down into turn 1. Park it up nice and cleanly on the apex at 1. Not too wide. Make sure you open up turn 2. That's the big key. In the meantime, Fudit and Pongsatorn are going to have a little bit of a battle on the run into turn number 1. He'll show the nose, late on the brakes. Can he get the car stopped as he flows in with a ton of speed? Yes, he can. Comes back at him, though, the number 9 machine. Foodit will get to the inside. They made maybe a touch of contact at the apex of turn 2, but all the momentum up the hill going the way of Bangsaen. Gets the job done on the final lap of the race. Nirut in the front of the shot. Just getting away from these two, down towards the hairpin for the final time on your Friday afternoon. Watch them as they crawl out of the hairpin as well.
Got Saran 4th place, Nirut 5th, Pudit 6th. There is Kieran 3rd place. So we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 all roughly lined up here. About equidistant, I'd say, as well, for good measure. As halfway through the final lap they are now, coming into the monument section one last time. Try and get a straight run through the chicane that's been installed there to get around the monument. And it's a good run. Guides here, Pat versus Bangsaen. Going to be close, but inside covered on the run to turn 15 by Pudit in that number 9 truck. Only a handful of corners left. For Narrowchit, though, it is only going to be one corner left as he comes around the hairpin.
That's it, out of the final corner. And he is going to take out Toyota Hilux. One make race for the Revos for Friday afternoon. Crosses the start-finish line, gets it done over Kitasak. Then we watch and we wait for the next group. And this is where the battling was going on. And there was the car rotated at the final corner. The number 9 machine. The Foodit will go around. Here they all come. It's going to be Kieran from Saran. And Nirut will be home. And then that number 9 machine of Foodit will wait. Actually, it'll be Bangsaen will be the next car across. And there it is. Number 9 of Foodit. So that did go down the final corner. And there, I reckon there's probably been a touch of contact. And this will be the shot.
Oh, yep.
From the hotel. Yep. In the inside of the 45 machine. So that will solve what happened at the final corner on the last lap of the race. And you sort of expected that one. It's quite tough for a car to get rotated at that final corner. You can go in there a little bit hot. Narrowchik gets it done. Kitasak from Kieran, your podium to bring us home. Got to feel a little bit sorry for Bitterfont. Went into turn 17 with a little bit too much bravery. What was we used the phrase yesterday, Dan. Bravery comes stupidity if you're just a few feet wide. Was it just me? Or was that no? Sorry, my apologies. There was a fastest lap of the race set on the last lap for Bangsaen. So the driver that finished down in 6th place actually quits this time in the final lap of the race to 2:16.208. Found some time, which was significantly faster than all the cars around him. So he made a ton of time on that last lap. So whatever the mistakes he was making were, he finally managed to get it all locked down to set the fastest lap of Friday afternoon racing. Ladies and gentlemen, the conclusion of this one, we'll have the second race of the Super Pickup C-Class drivers for the weekend. And David Haynes is going to be joining our commentary for that one, and he's going to get a taste of one of the most unique categories the world over.
And he will indeed, and it will mean we have to say goodbye to you for today, Scott, but there is still 2 more days of racing, and look forward to having you back tomorrow and Sunday as well. In the meantime, folks, we're going to have ourselves, let's the sound of it, a couple of highlights. Not so much the monkeys, but they are certainly a part and parcel of this circuit and this racing here. So much so, there's an entire segment of the track named after them. Here is the highlights now. Race start was a little frantic here as we had 3 wide towards the back, almost 4 wide there at one point. Good news, we got through turn 1 A-OK. There's that check-up I saw as the drone shot struggled to get through the tree, Scott. And it's a argy-bargy between these drivers getting up to speed at turn 2.
Well, and there's the big moment that caused the safety car. A little bit too hot into the left-hander at 17 and just across and out of control on both sides of the road. That was the 13 machine racing around, struggling to try and catch the pack, which he did eventually do so before they went back to green flag racing. They got locked down. 85 was brought back to pit lane on a tow truck. And then there was this moment, the number 90 made an overtake before the control line. The control car is actually number 4 that you'll see in the middle of the road at the moment. Narachit had control of the field. 3 would try and go around the outside from Kitasak and not be able to get it done. This would then happen later on in the race as, again, Kitasak got to the inside of the 90 machine of Kiranen. And from there, it was try and find some speed over the next few laps and some balance, but no one was going to be touching Narachit. Get it done. And race 1 of the weekend. This battle on the final lap of the race was interesting as well. Gets the job done down at turn number 1, and then that number 9 machine would lose another spot down at the final hairpin. There it is, celebrating the race victory. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a short break. We'll be back with the second of the races for this weekend for your Thailand City pickup. And we'll be back in just a few moments.
อนุภาพสีคางหมายเลข 77 จากทีมโอ๊ตอุดช่างฝันนะครับลงแข่งในรุ่นปิกอัพคลาส C ครับจากสนามที่ผ่านมานะครับตอนนี้คะแนนเก็บก็อยู่อันดับที่2นะครับเข้าสู่สนามบางแสนนี้เราก็จะทำให้เต็มที่ครับการที่เราได้ขับในสนามสตรีทเซอร์กิตครั้งนี้มันก็สนุกมากครับเร้าใจตื่นเต้นดีครับแท็กก็ดีฝากช่วยเชียร์ด้วยนะครับหมายเลข 77 ทีมโอ๊ตอุดช่างขวัญนะครับ
เอาละครับคุณผู้ชมครับกลับเข้ามาสู่ที่งาน Big Quick Thailand Super Series 2025 กันต่อนะครับที่สนามบางแสนกลางปีจังหวัดชลบุรีแห่งนี้นะครับรุ่นที่อยู่ข้างหลังผมนี้ครับคือรุ่น Thailand Super Pickup Division 2 Class C นะครับซึ่งรุ่นนี้จากเมื่อวานผู้ที่เป็นที่1เนี่ยนะครับคืออาร์ตจักรพันธ์วรรณรัตน์วันนี้กฎของการ Reverse Grid เนี่ยจึงทำให้เขาไปออกสตาร์ทในอันดับที่5 หมายความว่าผู้ที่ได้ที่ 5 ในวันนี้จะออกมาอยู่ในกริดสตาร์ทที่ 1 ในวันนี้นะครับนั่นก็คือพี่นุกอิทธิศักดิ์แก้วดีไปคุยกันครับว่าวันนี้เขามีโอกาสแล้วนะครับสำหรับการทำเวลาเป็นอย่างไรตามกันมาครับตามกันมานะครับหมายเลข 30 นะฮะเป็นคนในพื้นที่ด้วยนะเป็นคนในพัทยาเลยนะครับบางเสร่พี่นุกครับสวัสดีครับเป็นยังไงบ้างครับจากเมื่อวานคือเนื่องจากพี่สดเนี่ยนะฮะเขาดีคิวไปจึงทำให้ขยับเนี่ยมันมีการขยับอันดับขึ้นมาทำให้พี่เนี่ยได้ขึ้นมาอยู่ในอันดับที่5ด้วยนะครับพูดคุยหน่อยว่ารู้สึกอย่างไรบ้าง
ก็รู้สึกตื่นเต้นมากครับเพราะว่าเครื่องเราพังตอนรอบ2ครับเลยไม่สามารถทำการควอลิฟายได้ครับผม
ครับผมแต่ก็คือมาเป็นอันดับที่ 6 ของเมื่อวานถูกไหมฮะ
ใช่ครับผมไล่จากอันดับสุดท้ายขึ้นมาครับมาจบอันดับ6ครับผม
ก็ถือว่าโชคดีไปนะครับเพราะวันนี้ก็มาอยู่ในเกรดสตาร์ที่1เลย
ใช่ครับเป็นเรื่องของโชคส่วนหนึ่งเลยครับ
ไหนว่าเป็นคนพัทยาแล้วอยากจะให้แนะนำในสิ่งของที่สถานที่อย่างนี้นะครับสนามบางแสนกลางปีของเราว่าเป็นอย่างไรบ้าง
ก็เป็นสนามที่โดดเด่นที่สุดในภูมิภาคนะครับสนามนี้แล้วก็เป็นสนามที่ทุกคนใฝ่ฝันที่จะมาวิ่งที่นี่ครับบางแสนชลบุรีบ้านเราครับผม
ครับคนในพื้นที่แล้วก็ต้องขอแรงเชียร์แรงใจหน่อยครับ
ครับผมขอแรงเชียร์ด้วยครับเบอร์30ครับ SSK สมศักดิ์การช่างครับM Top ครับOMC Racing Carbon Tonic อุดอ่องระยองครับผมขอบคุณมากครับ
ขอบคุณครับพี่นุกนะครับอิทธิศักดิ์แก้วดีเราไปดูกันต่อท่านที่2ก็คือเป็นอันดับที่4นะครับของเมื่อวานแน่นอนนะครับพี่บัสมาจากมหาชัยใช่ไหมครับเด็กมหาชัยนะครับธนวัฒน์ตั้งจิตมณีศักดาสวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีครับพี่
เป็นยังไงบ้างครับวันนี้เราได้อยู่ในจุดตรงนี้แล้ว
ก็ดีใจครับแล้วก็ตื่นเต้นเล็กน้อย
แต่วันนี้ถือว่าได้มีโอกาสแล้วนะไม่ต้องถูกน้ำหนักด้วยครับก็ถือว่าจะทำให้เต็มที่วางแผนอย่างไรกับสนามนี้บ้างครับ
ก็ขับให้เต็มที่ครับเอาแต่ว่าต้องปลอดภัยขับให้ปลอดภัยที่สุดนะครับผลจะได้ที่ไหนก็ขอให้เป็นยังไงจะได้ที่ไหนก็ไม่เป็นไรครับแต่ให้ปลอดภัยไว้
พี่บาสฝากถึงแฟนๆหน่อยครับ
ก็ฝากเชียร์เบอร์ดิบ2ด้วยนะครับทีมฟอร์ซ่านะครับผม
ขอบพระคุณครับแล้วก็อย่าลืมเชียร์นักแข่งอีกหลายๆท่านที่อยู่ในกริดสตาร์ทของสนามนี้ในรุ่นนี้ด้วยนะครับท่านผู้ชมครับแน่นอนนะครับสำหรับรุ่นนี้ใครจะเป็นแชมป์ในสนามนี้ติดตามกันให้ดีนะครับกับรุ่น Thailand Super Pickup Division 2 คลาส 4 ครับ
Welcome back, folks. Here, just heard Goody talking to some of the drivers down on the grid here for the Bangsaen Thailand Super Pickup Division 2, or Class C drivers, as they're otherwise known. And it's our second and final race of the day here on Friday as part of this 2025 edition of the Bangsaen Grand Prix. And having said farewell to Scott Rankin, today I'm in here once again on the comms for this one today, but also being joined by David Haynes as we introduce him to the Thailand Super Series with a bit of an extra helpful cameo this weekend. David, thank you very much for joining us. And one of Thailand's unique motorsport categories, as you can actually see here, it's not entirely all Thai-based. Daniel Green here, new to the series this year. St. Louis, Missouri, I think it was. He got a chance to speak to Goody at the last race in Buriram, but proudly waving the American flag there on that that number 8 truck. Stands out from amongst the Thai nationals in this category and field today.
Yes, St. Louis, Missouri, being also home to where Gateway Motorsports Park is for IndyCar and all the other series that go there. So he's a long way from home, but it looks like he'll be having a really, really solid weekend. Looked so hot earlier, now cooling off a little bit. Some clouds coming across, some shade across the racetrack, and ready to heat it up with Super Pickup D2.
Yeah, let me see if I can actually get a bit of a weather forecast, or weather conditions. At this current time of day, 4:25 p.m. Local time in Bangsaen and Thailand today. At least the one weather source I've gone to first up is reporting an air temperature of around 32 degrees Celsius. But it actually apparently feels, thanks to, I presume, a lack of, or a decent humidity in the air, which might be making things a little stifling, a real feel, as it were, of 37 degrees Celsius. Yeah, 59% humidity, not crazy high, but decent. And the winds from the west-southwest, which is off the bay, and therefore off the sea, but apparently that all combines to a fact that it's hot, and it's not going to cool down super quickly, as we've got 5 minutes till the drivers will pull away from the dummy grid here.
Yeah, 5-minute board on display, everyone getting ready. And certainly that sort of real feel, it was up north of 40 degrees Celsius earlier today, and you can imagine with the air temperature, the humidity, and the sunshine coming down, how hot it would have felt. You just take away one of those things, some of the direct sunlight, and that will be a relief, even if the temperature is still high, the humidity is still high. And when the temperature is that high, the air can hold so much moisture that even a relative humidity of above 50% is actually a lot of humidity. You see all the spectators trying to enjoy the shade, a lot of them with their handheld fans. Looks like it would really provide some relief on a day like today, and hopefully everyone has a great weekend.
Yeah, certainly. It's been a high-energy scene. It's what we get to see, at least anyway, here from the Bangsaen Grand Prix. Still continues to be the one day maybe we'll be able to attend in person event in particular on the calendar of the Big Creek Thailand Super Series. But just having a look back, able to dig up the results from last round at Buildup. New for this season, they ran 3 races at the circuit. Usually, most of the categories run 2 races, and whilst that's certainly the case for some, combination of less tracks scheduled means that our super pickup drivers here, they got 3 races in. Having a look through it all again, going back to that weekend, Itasak Kaidwi in the number 30 Isuzu D-Max was your winner of the first race out of 12 drivers that did finish, in addition to some other drivers that did retire during the race. The second race of the weekend in Buildup, that was nasty. 15 starters, only 9 finishes, David. That includes 5 retirements, but also a disqualification there as well. And it's not, and it was just as bad almost in on the final race on Sunday. Again, 13 starters, because 2 didn't start the final race. Only 8 of them got classified, thanks to, 4 retirements and another disqualification on the Sunday. And it's 2 different trucks that got disqualified across races 2 and 3 of the last weekend.
Yeah, and you can see from the total time of those previous races that the first race definitely looked safety car interrupted. The other 2 completing 12 laps in about 24 minutes. So we hopefully get a clean and uninterrupted race this evening for Super Pickup D2. They're not far away from pulling away. We've seen the 3-minute board displayed and, of course, counting down from there.
Yep, well, mind you, the only problem is this is probably the one track where a safety car is nigh on guaranteed if anything is 1% wrong. And the chances of that are quite easy to accomplish, unfortunately, around here. That's how tricky this track can be. 20 turns, 3.8 kilometers of circuit, and you've got a real mix of some slightly open roads for the start-finish stretch and the run from T6 to T8, but then narrow, technical, slow stuff, such as turns 2 up to turn 6, turn 8, then getting around the monuments, a little bit of a handful, but also then higher speed stuff, such as the turn 17 flick as you come down the coastline towards the pit paddock area. 1 more minute left here on the dummy grid, David. Engines to be started now as well. It's almost time to get these super pickup trucks and drivers out on the track.
Yeah, so some high-speed sections, some tight sections, some bumpy sections, and every little slide we've seen brings you so close to the wall, and they are incredibly unforgiving. And that makes the allure and the challenge of this circuit and why the event is so popular.
Our Division 2 field here today, mostly consisting of drivers racing under a Thai license. The exception there being Daniel Green, who is indeed noted as a US nationality and very much proudly from the good old US of A. We'll talk through the grid here in a second as they roll away from the pit lane, and they'll go single file for the formation lap, and then they'll we'll wait to see here. Usually these trucks, David, we see them do standing start races, but per the program notes, both the original document and the amended document to fit in these trucks racing earlier today to get their 2 races for the weekend in, it did note a rolling start. So I will await and see which it will be here as the formation lap gets underway.
Tyre warming happening for your pulse at a sack. Anawas behind. Almost entirely Suzu D-Maxes and all new D-Maxes with just the one Chevrolet Colorado deeper in the field.
Of course, acknowledging there, Idemitsu supporting this Division 2 of the Thailand Super Pickup for 2025. As here's a look at the circuit from a 3D point of view. Sector 1 takes you all the way out past the Turn 6 hairpin. Sector 2 takes you down the backstretch through the monument and up onto the coastline. We can go off to Sector 3 and up through Turn 15 and then down the coast again to Turns 18 and 19. As noted there, 3 prominent overtaking zones. Turns 1 and 2 if you can hang on to the truck through that right-hand sweeper into 90-degree left. Make it around to Turn 15, another 90-degree left awaits you there, and then the double apex hairpin at 18 and 19. And to top it all off here, David, Hankook still the official tyre of the Be Quick Thailand Super Series, and the Ventus RS4 semi-slick is what is shod and fitted aboard these super pickup trucks, which means they don't have a ton of grip all the time, for good measure.
Means I'm super qualified because I've done a couple of races on a Hankook Ventus RS4, not in trucks like these. This is our grid, Daniel.
Indeed. Ida Kaidwi and Tanawas going to start your front row here today ahead of Somnuk and Supermon Coldet Petch and Civi 1958 trucks, respectively. Jakapan and Tassanai on row number 3 ahead of Tanafak and Butaya on the 4th row. As you said, that is the absolute armada of Isuzu D-Maxes. They make up the top 8. 9th for Kitsak and 10th for Tanawat. Rustam Mali and Daniel Green make it your top 12 here today. The lone Chevy Colorado is in the hands of Crid Pride Soup in the 82. Kiasak alongside him in 14th. Sunan and Arnafap in 15th and 16th, with the 9th row, well, would have had Woodapat Kong Kritipong. Apologies there for a bit of a mouthful on that one there, but didn't show up there on the starting grid, David, nor is he showing as reporting through any of the timing sectors. So I suspect that may be a case of a 16 truck starting grid for this one rather than the 17 on our timing screens.
Yeah, also not seeing Wetaya Raya through the sectors on the formation lap either. So we'll see who we've got, how many we've got. Beginning to look like we're getting too wide formed up here as they're about to go through that double apex left-hander and then the final corner.
And that speaks to a rolling start. So I can indeed go by the program notes then, rather than what we saw at Buriram with standing starts in these trucks. So 12 laps, full race. Yeah, we are indeed. There's a gap in the starting grid formation that's not being filled, David. So that would indeed suspect that Utaya Rayai in the 42 truck is indeed going to be absent from this one today, unfortunately, as they'll come into the final hairpin and they'll wait for the lights at the starting gantry almost halfway down this start-finish stretch before we get underway and go to racing speed. There they are, the 10 lights. 2 rows of 5, and they're already actually putting the foot down as we approach. So the lights will go out, we get this race underway, and if you haven't seen it before, this is the one other feature that's almost iconic to these trucks, the black smoke, as they make their way into turns 1 and 2. 2 wide in several parts, 3 wide further on back, David, but we get to turn 2 and they all stack up, trying to find their way to the apex.
Perfect run from the pole sitter. It's a sack because then you don't need to defend the left-hand side through the sweeping turn 1 to take the full racing line through turn 2 and then up the hill. So that's a perfect start to have just a little bit of breathing room to not need to defend and just use the full width of the road, but not a perfect start here from the 82 of Crid Prayetsa.
Lone Chevy Colorado rolling backwards off the turn 2 exit. Looks to have stalled the truck there as the field made its way through into the permanent yellow flag here at the hairpin of turn 6. But as you said, for Idasak, it's looking very good indeed. He's already got a nice margin up front there. We do have one onboard shot here with Jakapan Wanarat, who's currently 5th place in the number 17 DMAX. Up towards turn 8 he goes, and then look further outboard to the rest of the field, streaking their way down towards this turn for the first time. Deep under brakes from one of our trucks there in yellow. Couldn't quite catch the number. But probably 4 or 5 ahead of Daniel Grant, who's in that all-white number 8. But we'll have to try and pick up who that might have been. So there's your leader, Idasak, on their way out of sector 2. There's your top 5 soon enough, as they make their way up to turn 15. The answer on what that pass was and who it was with might be a mystery for a little while longer.
Well, the fastest sector 2 was Jakapan Wanarat, and then there's a few drivers behind Chasanai Jaimun that lost a little bit of time relative, so I think the 26 might have made some moves. That's smoke coming from the front, not the back of one of these trucks.
Oh, and then he almost loses it on power down to Jakapan. Ambitious setup there on someone called Detpech. Couldn't get to the inside. Properly scrubs the front tyres on his truck there into the turn 18-19 hairpin, and then gives the rear end a little something to think about as well. But first lap complete under green flag conditions. 1.3 seconds your race lead across the start finish line from Idasak and Tanawas. Top 5 here, all just about in frame as they come up Monkey Hill for the second tyres. That's Tanawas there, so make it 2nd through 5th, 2nd through 6th in a long enough shot. As trouble at turn 2.
A bit of damage on that. That's gone in hard. Bodywork damage, but is your suspension still okay is what's critical for making it around and keeping this race safety car free if possible. Looking to the replay here. So turn 1 sweeps to the right and then into turn 2.
Way too fast.
Or the tail of that is out of shape already and then locking up and sliding on. Touching the tyres, but more gently than I would have thought. I think that's actually more positive than the live picture looked.
I think you're right in that it might just be slightly caved in on the front right corner there, and it might just be bodywork damage as long as it doesn't rub down on that tyre. As back to live pictures through the monument there for Somnuk, Supermonkol and Jakapan, 3rd, 4th and 5th in this race. Lead at the front has closed up, I think, because Tanawas looks to be a lot closer to Idasak than they were earlier as they carefully guide the trucks through turn 15. Try and build a bit of speed here, David. Then this fast left-hand flick at turn 17. And how much speed can you carry? How close to the walls can you be? Supermon Cole, sort of middle of the road there, actually.
Yeah, I thought so too. Now looking defensive with the double apex left-hander to come up. Your preferred racing line as we ride on board, maybe just to get the later bit of the apex. But you can't do that so comfortably if someone's right in behind you, and that's the battle that we have through the mid-pack here. Fastest lap of the race for Jakapan Wanarat as well. So certainly your race pace not exactly represented by the qualifying order means we're going to see some passing as this goes on.
If you can get the passing done in the right place, yes. And an update from race control, our first black smoke penalties have been issued. one of the things is whilst they're allowed to produce a decent amount of smoke, there are restrictions on the amount, and the first 2 trucks that are going to fall to that requirement is the 58, a Supermoncol Detpech there in now 3rd place as we come through the Sector 1 timing loop. He's up in front of Somnuk now, as well as the number 8 of Daniel Green, who was scored as 11th across the start-finish line at the start of his 3rd lap of the race.
Right-hander at turn 8. Really tight through this section till it opens up a little bit in the following left. And then past the monument, the roundabout, quick flick through there. And then along the beach side, looks beautiful here. And foreshore in the markets. So this is where you try to then stay super close. You're coming up to that high-speed sweeper where you can hear so
I think
much.
it's on the wall. Indeed we do, but looks like the Tech Pro is going to solve that one there for us. Sorry to cut you off, David. That was Tanfak. Oh, again, into the hairpin.
It's always these corners that are close to flat out, but not quite flat out, that get you in trouble. The chase at Mount Panorama and turn 17 here. And then it's after that, though. Or before that. Yeah, earlier in the lap.
Yeah, it was turn 15, that moment happening there. It seems to be a corner, David, that catches people out semi-regularly. Maybe part of the fact maybe the road's a bit bumpier up there than we know of. It is a spot we are bringing some decent speed into it. If you're getting a good run up through, out of the monument, pretty much flat out through. Right-hand sweep, left-hand sweep, and then try and slow it down for a 90-degree left. And clearly, very easy to get that wrong. As you can see here, back live pitches towards the rear of the field. Daniel Green in that white D-Max, having just passed the start-finish line, should hopefully have seen the board about his black smoke. That needs to be taken down the pit lane to address that with a penalty. Looks like there's some more trucks that are also going to get a couple of penalties here. The 17 truck of Jakapan Wanarat, our fastest truck in the opening phase of the race, is going to be sent to the pit lane to serve a black smoke penalty. And the 75 of Sunan, who's been running in 7th at this stage, also going to be dished out with a black smoke penalty here, David.
A few of those coming across.
Top of the field, meanwhile, Itasak already through turn 19 here on lap number 4. Only 8 laps to go here as we're coming up towards 1/3 quarter distance, say, once we get to here. There you go, already across the line. Timing loop is a little earlier on the start finish stretch than the starting gantry here at Bangsaen. You can see here for these trucks having to really sort of guide it in gently to turn 1. And David, you have to scroll up there with speed to be able to set up for turn 2 properly.
Yeah, and with the body roll, it seems not particularly conducive to good braking, to be braking with too much steering angle. So you saw your race leader sort of pointing straight to the apex at turn 2 and trying to brake in a straight line. And then at turn 15, I think we saw you've got just a slightly curved braking zone, and it's so easy to then lock up one tyre and go on past that braking zone. So exactly what racing line you take for an F4 car versus these super pickup D2 trucks, it certainly changes based on their driving dynamics, the type of tyres you've got on, and all of that. So you're seeing that that's what Itasak is doing, and it's working very well. Consistent lap times, extending the race lead, and we have had a few of those drivers with the penalties coming through the lane. So Daniel Green and Pierre Itasak have served theirs.
Yeah, and it's a costly penalty loop here at Bangsaen, of course. 40 km/h speed limit, and you have to basically just go down the pit lane and loop back around and come back up the other side of it as part of the limited sort of space to have a pit lane. That's a whole lot of tyre screeching there in the background. But looks like here as we're focusing on, I think that's the 75 of Sunan, perhaps. Trying to get a read on.
I think so.
70. It was at 79 there, possibly. Unfortunately, the numbers aren't super easy to read, despite being a fluoro pink. 26, though, I can read that as we zoom on in. So that's Tassanai and Sunan. Yes, it is indeed. So 4th and 5th switching places there into the 18-19 hairpin. Don't forget, 75 has a black smoke penalty that has been issued. Actually, no, it's a 79. So that is Somnuk being passed by Tassanai for 3rd place, actually.
Yeah, suddenly it's looking good for Tassanai, isn't it? Up into 3rd. Some very competitive sector times. So just beginning to really find the rhythm phase in the tyre, however it may be, leaving Somnuk behind, closing in on 2nd place. Tanwas. So 2nd and 3rd, really closing up, approaching the part where you can't pass. The race leader navigates the hairpin, 2nd and 3rd come through as well.
And these trucks here, they're using quite a lot of the road, of course, to get around that hairpin at turn 6 to point back out the other way. And I have to say, Tassanai is looking very quick indeed. On the way up the hill from turn 2, was closing up big time as 86 truck here, which is in the hands of Tanafak. Not quite all healthy on the front bumper there. Now, that's not...
I think he locked up and went into 15, didn't he?
Yes, you're right. Actually, good point. Thank you for that reminder. That is indeed our driver that overshot and found the Tech Pro at turn 15.
Where the race leader goes through right now, you notice there's just a tiny kink on the way into that braking zone. So I think if you just got the steering input in and you snap on the brake, then you can snatch a front brake super easily. You want to try to avoid that. So this is where Tassanai made the pass a lap ago, looking for it again, but not able to. Not enough space down the inside, trying to put 2nd place on the back foot. They run wide, now onto the front straight. A drag race between the Isuzu trucks.
Now it's going to be all over through the turn 20 sweeper. Tassanai up to 2nd ahead of Tanawas. Of course, there's the start-finish line. They actually do have to paint a checker pattern. Gap at that line to Itasak up front in the lead of the race. 4.3 seconds, despite having to pass for 2nd. 205.52 second for Itasak versus a 203.843 for Tassanai here in this number 26. So watch out for a hard charge. We're coming up on the half race distance at the end of this lap. 6 down. Well, we are, sorry. We're 6 down. There's 6 to go now at the start of this one. So pardon me, we're in the second half of this race already. And if Tassanai keeps this up and he doesn't get a black smoke penalty, challenge for the lead certainly could emerge here in the closing couple of laps. So speaking of those black smoke penalties, indeed, as we cut to the pit lane, David.
58 leaving its pit, but it was the traction out of that hairpin. Tassanai's really sensing the race lead. Gap's come down from 6 seconds to 4.3. The question then you've got to ask is this Itasak just controlling things, not overextending on a street circuit, just keeping a little bit of gap behind, because the most exuberant driver and the fastest driver over the last couple of laps has been the driver in 2nd place, Tassanai, in this white Isuzu.
I guess the only thing to think about also is that this is the final race for this category of the weekend. Usually they would race once on Saturday, once on Sunday, but with the additional categories of F4 Southeast Asia, Porsche Carrera Cup Asia, as well as the Toyota One Make races across various cars here this weekend, David. Our Super Pickup Class C drivers all done as of today, and they won't be racing for several months. Now, obviously, you don't want to damage the truck and have to put yourself through repairing it, but maybe a little bit more caution to the wind for some drivers here might be seen.
across the line for 5 laps to go. More damage bits beginning to fall off 77. But what a lap last lap.
Just, yeah, wait to see this one here update. Comes across the line there. A 159.2, and he's already done a 158.8 in this race. That is a rocket ship. If that's the only truck that's done a sub 1... Well, pardon me, it's the only truck currently doing a sub 2-minute lap time. That may be part of the answer. He's got that thing absolutely dancing under the brakes on corner entry to turns 1 and 2 and getting it to rotate really aggressively there. Currently sits 5th place, 13 seconds behind Somnuk up the road. But he gained 7 seconds on the last lap. So he'll catch that up in 3 laps if he can keep this pace up.
Well, it doesn't look good, but it looks good. The panels not looking great, but the body language and the speed all super, super competitive. Gap holding slightly steady, dropping a tiny bit between first and second. Of course, now what you don't want to do is be picking up any penalties. If some penalties around you have elevated you into a nice position, you don't want to be one to give that away.
No, not at all. And that's a delicate balance with these trucks, it would seem. Yeah, do you push them for maximum performance? Or do you need to dial it back to ensure you don't get yourself a black smoke flag? That's a risky one at the best of times, it feels like.
Wonder if they make a bit less as they warm up as well.
That's a strong possibility. I just don't have any definite answers on any of that.
We've seen heaps of front locking, just saw a tiny hint of rear locking on the downshift going into the turn 6 hairpin. And 69, 8th and 9th place, Rasta being closed by Tanawat.
Last lap, Tanawat nearly 3 seconds faster than Rustamari, so watch out to see if this one gets into a battle soon enough. Meanwhile, race lead down to 2.2 seconds. Tassanai pulling 1.4 out of your race leader on the last lap alone. He is looking to make a challenge. He's got 3.5 laps, give or take now, left to do it, David. So he's closing up at an appropriate pace to challenge with probably about 2 to go.
Yeah, I think there's enough time. The kind of speed that Tassanai's had over the last couple of laps and the moves we've seen stick, particularly into sort of turn 19, carrying so much speed through turn 17 and other sections there as well, able to be very confident on the brakes, which is critical to making a pass on a street circuit like this. Not to be faster through the corners, but be able to brake later to be able to affect a move. That gap just slowly coming down as the difference between the driver in first and the driver in second is exactly how much risk they're willing to bite off on a Friday afternoon.
It would appear that second and third sectors is where Tassanai is confident and fast, but he's still not fastest. That still goes to the hands of Arnafat Shriklang in the 77 truck. A 158.164, new fastest lap of the race after completing 7 laps. So he is going faster and faster. So he's almost certainly going to pick up 4th place at this rate because he was 8 seconds faster than Somnuk in front of him, and the gap last lap was only 5.9 seconds. 3 to go for your race leaders though. Another 1.2 seconds gained by Tassanai, so he should be in on the bumper at the end of this lap here. And traffic to boot too up front.
Yeah, and in a difficult spot here. You wish you could have done that on the front straight before turn 1, but it could cost some time to Itasak, and it could give us a grandstand finish to this category, Super Pickup D2. Now, where does the yellow flag start? It's there.
That line back there.
This is painful. This is painful, just waiting, trying to set up an exit.
Well, that's Arnafat, and I'd bet you 10 cents that's Somnuk behind him. It is indeed. So pass already made before getting to this section up Monkey Hill. And he's still, that truck, and remember, this is the truck that went into the wall at turn 2. hence all of the bodywork has been ripped off the front and the right-hand corner. He is still the fastest truck by a mile. A 57.9 last lap. The man's absolutely driving possessed. And most other drivers, they'll hit a pace and then have to fade away a bit. He seems just going from strength to strength to strength. This finally top two have cleared the lap truck. The 75 there, it looks like, of Sunan. To come up to turn 15, this is where Tassanai has been the strongest sector for him. What do we see? Deep perhaps from the race leader, but no move made just yet. Oh, around the outside.
Side by side, is there a chance of a missed shift? It's a change for the lead with 3 to go. Tassanai to the lead.
I bet that was a missed shift, all right, because all of a sudden, Tanawas is looking like he's going to arrive on the scene. As down here in the pit lane, it's looking all happy, but deep on the brakes for Idasak. He's not ready to give this one up if he can contest. As you work your way out of the turn 18-19 hairpin. 2 laps to go this time across the line, folks. And a drag race down the front stretch. Is there any benefit to the draft? Idasak actually pulls to the inside here. 2/10 across line. Maybe a bit of a bad run for Tassanai here, because here comes Idasak to the race lead again at turn 1.
It's a sweep into 1. It's a braking zone, curved braking zone heading for turn 2. They're going crazy. They know what kind of a race they've got on their hands towards the end here. Another change. Idasak back to the lead ahead of Tassanai. Tassanai can be so strong in that second and third sector of the lap. Succumbed to the pressure a lap ago, but then held the nerve after that and struck back.
Traffic and the fighting on that last lap is...
It's parking him in the hairpin. I reckon he did that a lap ago as well.
Tanawas nearly up the back of Idasak's tray there through the hairpin at turn 6, and indeed it's allowed Idasak to get away. My apologies, get them around the wrong way there because the timing doesn't update names. Tight entry though into turn for both Idasak and then Tassanai, even though the 30 wasn't really under any pressure on that particular occasion. 1.5 laps coming up here as through the monument. Your podium line astern, nothing in it between any of them.
Yeah, how much has this brought Thanawas in third place back into the battle as well, watching first and second go crazy, closing in on that group. This is where we had the mistake from your leader last lap. Didn't get a good exit, and it allowed a challenge into the next big braking zone. This sweeper so tough. This could almost be for all the chocolates with 2 to go.
On this particular occasion, the sweeper didn't really work out for Tassanai. He'll stay in behind. Look how tight he tries to take the apexes of the hairpin, and then you got to get the power down without kicking out the rear. They were going to get the final lap board here, folks, as they come onto the start-finish stretch this time by. Your podium all together here. The gap is just 1 second between the 3 of them. Tassanai with the run this time down at turn 1, but he's looking to the outside. Can he get there? He can't, David, so he's going to have to get back in line and aim for a clean run out of turn 2. More traffic in front as well.
More traffic though. Oh, now he runs wide. Tassanai not going to be able to challenge Idasak here. Idasak gets just a couple of extra car lengths of relief.
Unless this works out for him, because this is the point where he can now make up the time. Oh! The lead's going to pass the lap car of Daniel Green, and then... Oh, they're actually going to be let past here in the yellow flag sector. Ooh, that could be a possible question mark there, but at the same time, I think Daniel Green, that number 8 truck, was moving out of the way and kind of helped them do it. So, rules versus what the drivers did.
Yeah, it reminds me of, how slow does someone else have to be going under safety car before you're allowed to pass them? How slow do they have to be going there before you are allowed to pass them there? And no matter what, it's given a great advantage to the pole sitter Idasak, who faced so much pressure throughout this race and seems to be just hanging on the final lap.
Still a couple of corners left in what I'd probably say is Tassanai's strongest sector, but that is already, it's a 1 odd second margin. In fact, it's nigh on 2 seconds. To be precise, it was lost. Oh, and he's found the fence at turn 15, has Tassanai. Tanawas! Oh, they're going to crash at turn 16!
Massive turn second and third come together. Idasak will take the race win, but Tassanai and Thanawas have collided after a mistake from Tassanai. Thanawas going down the inside, wheels interlock, nearly airborne straight into the concrete barriers that have moved half a meter in that section, the final section of the final lap, and a red flag gets called.
Itasak will take a red flag, which functions as a checkered, I guess, at this point as well. But for all the other drivers, that will end the racing there. So actually, the winds pick up so much that the flag gets caught. We're going to get one last look at this one here. All by himself does Tassanai get loose next to the turn 15. And then big gap was open for Tanawas, but Itasak shut it down way too late, though. And yeah, smashing the concrete barriers back at turn 16 as a result.
Now, with the red flag instead of the checkered flag, if you go back another lap, it would still be Itasak as race winner. So no worries, however it gets adjudicated. On that one, a great race run by Itasak, but wow, did that feel just a little unnecessary in the battle for the podium. The pressure that Tassanai had been applying for the last 6 laps becomes reversed and makes a mistake under pressure, and then kind of doubles down on it a little bit. A collision that might have been avoidable has done a lot to those other 2 Isuzu D-Maxes, but it's a pristine one for Itasak that will be the race winner.
Yep. So yeah, if we count back to when basically our timing is actually, we have the timing recorded as of the end of lap 11, because the red flags came out before the leader took the checker, or cross the start finish, I should say. So your race results, if I do count back to the end of lap 11, will be Itasak, Kaidwi here in number 30. Tassanai Jaimon will come home second place, just less than 3/10 behind. And then you got Tanawas, who scored in third, with 1 second pretty much between him and the race leader. Arnafat will be classified in 4th, it'll be Somluk in 5th. Jakapan, who came across the line in 6th, but he had an outstanding black smoke penalty last of the race that was issued by race control. So that would probably be converted to a post-race penalty in that case. But then from there, it's a massive gap of 1 minute and 6 seconds back to Kitsak in 7th. With Rustamali and Tanawat, the last 2 trucks on the lead lap of the race. David, how's that? That overhead shot, they're really showing how much the wall's been moved.
I said half a meter. That could be 2 meters that the wall has moved there. Looks to have sort of done its job, though, because they went nose first in, and it sort of saves them from a complete dead stop.
And in many respects, lucky that it's the last race of the day, because they lost their first race of the weekend yesterday after an incident in Thailand Super Touring, which ended that race prematurely and also cancelled yesterday's race. But unfortunately, it ends again with collision, this time 2 drivers making contact, and more barrier work for the marshals and track crew to worry about here today.
I mean, a very beautiful place to have an accident, but not what either of them would have really wanted on that final lap when they were headed towards the podium and a great result.
ให้สจ๊วตเขาตรวจสอบนะครับเพราะว่ามี CCTV อยู่รอบสนามเลย
No, not at all. So looks like that's going to just about do us. We will wait to see on what would be some highlights as part of the package here for this one, folks. But that, as I said, is the end of racing and the end of track action here from Bangsaen today. And then looking at what's coming up tomorrow, we have ourselves a grand total of, I count, 7 races Saturday. So it will be a full day of coverage tomorrow, unlike the short race-only coverage we've had yesterday afternoon and this afternoon here from Bangsaen. So as it currently stands, to run through it all, at about 9:30 local time, Super Pickup Division 1, our Class A and B trucks, which means we'll actually get to see some D-Maxes take to the field in some bigger numbers, although certainly it's still an Isuzu dominated field there for that one. They're followed up by F4 Southeast Asia for race 4 of the championship for them. You've got the Toyota Yaris one-make race, as well as the Toyota Corolla Altis one-make race in combination with the Toyota Yaris Ative Lady one-make race. In the middle of the day, then your TSS Supercar GT4 and GTC field will be our first 60-minute race of tomorrow's schedule. Porsche Carrera Cup Asia will be on after that. And this is by this point we're already at 3:05 p.m. local time in Thailand tomorrow afternoon for that race. As it happens, there is practically no break. It really is race after race after race. If anything, there's maybe half an hour with the hot lapping and classic car parade, David, to break up the racing between F4 Southeast Asia and the Yaris one-make race. Apart from that, we are just racing all day long here at Bangsaen.
Yeah, blockbuster weekend ends with Friday busting some blocks, unfortunately. But what we didn't get in this race was a safety car. We had 11 green flag laps and then a red flag on lap 12, second and third. Battling just shows that anything can happen, and it's pretty well must-watch stuff from the Bangsaen Grand Prix and Thailand Super Series.
Indeed, and with that, folks, it looks like well, I can hear something on the feed in the background, which I think is actually the Thai commentators. And Goody down here on the podium, we might listen in and let him basically wrap up the package here today, folks. But so keep it in mind, 9:30 a.m. Thailand time. That's when we'll definitely be back on air tomorrow morning for Thailand Super Pickup Division 1. Because Porsche Carrera Cup Asia is typically covered by a separate media team for Porsche themselves.
แน่นอนนะครับคุณผู้ชมครับเพิ่งจบการแข่งขันไป
Quick zoom in there, David. The damage to the right front corner of the truck there as well, which would be on the number 12 Tanawas. That was significant. The concrete barriers have done their job, as you said, but they've also taken a lot of energy, but they've also impacted quite a bit back on the truck.
Yeah, and note that we're scored here as if crossing the checkered flag, not a count back on the red flag. So having been in the wall much earlier in the race, Arnafap is actually second in this. We're looking at Somnuk, who's been given third position. So it is a big loss for Tasanai and Thanawas, the damage, and also not being scored podium finishes.
It's true. I mean,
or celebrated as podium finishes.
Yeah, we should have race results available to us tomorrow morning once they're compiled and done overnight, and we'll be able to clarify. Of course, I think it makes sense in that they've grabbed the top 3 trucks that did actually make it through the red flag for the purposes of this post-race interview chat with Goody. But yeah, so definitely on air tomorrow morning from 9:30 a.m. Thailand time. We may have coverage. It's a Carrera Cup Asia qualifying starting at 8:30 a.m. Thailand time. That may also be aired here. We'll have to see, because the Carrera Cup Asia is typically covered by a separate team on behalf of Porsche Motorsport and their media organizations and affiliations, David. So that might also be a point where we'll be taking a short break tomorrow as part of proceedings. Which will then give us a moment to reset, because then there will be TSS Supercar GT3 GTM as the final race tomorrow on a Saturday for the penultimate day of the Bangsaen Grand Prix.
And Thai time is GMT +7 for all of the English language viewers around the world. So it should be pretty good viewing time for people in Europe as well.
That's a good point. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, once you get to probably the GT4, the GTC races, which is 1:30 p.m. Local time. If I rewind 7 hours off that, that's about 6:30 a.m.
Yeah,
if you are on GMT.
8:30 a.m. in Central Europe, and at the moment it's summertime in the UK, so they're GMT +1.
So 7:30 a.m. for them. So it actually works out fairly well to catch the end of the main big races, as it were. If you are up at a point where you're catching either the Yaris one-make races or Heavens, if you're up early enough to catch F4 Southeast Asia from Europe, I I salute you for your dedication, is all I can possibly say about that one there. And then we sort of do more or less a very similar schedule, although in saying that, we've got Super Touring come back on Sunday, just looking forward to the final day of the weekend. In fact, it means we're going to start very early on Sunday, because the first race is 8:25 a.m. Local time for that one there.
Jam-packed weekend, isn't it? So many local categories, some international influence, some international cars, but also the super Thai flavour of Thailand Super Series and the really popular and well-populated local categories.
Indeed. And on the odd chance that you're in Thailand and listening to this feed, all of our promotional stuff says it's free entry. So if you happen to be in a position where you can get to Bangsaen in Chonburi, Chonburi district, and you're a fan of motorsport, certainly able to get down and check that out here this weekend indeed. 2 days left here at Bangsaen. It is our big race days to come. It's many, I think it's something in the order of probably 10, 11 hours of racing left across all the categories. Sunday is going to be pretty crazy indeed. We've got to jam in multiple 1 hour races as well as F4 Southeast Asia, Carrera Cup Asia, as well as Super Eco and Super Cup. Here's the highlights I was talking about, David. I think with this going off here, we'll sign off and let these roll out to wrap up our coverage today. Any final thoughts from you, having joined us for this Super Pickup race?
A great track, growing event, and jam-packed weekend of action still to come.
It is indeed. Thank you all very much for joining us here today. Short coverage it may have been, but yeah, be prepared. Full day tomorrow on the Saturday and the Sunday as well. And on behalf of David Haynes and Scott Rankin earlier, my name is Danny Naiman. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage this afternoon. We hope to see you back tomorrow for all the racing action here for the Saturday of the Bangsaen Grand Prix.